I really like, so I went to school for this,
Okay.
and been doing this ever since.
Okay, terrific.
So,
And so you said you had a little bit of a construction background, like in general?
my father was, had a construction background a little
Okay.
bit, so, it just falls down from the tree and you kind of pick up things like that.
Yeah.
Never actually did construction work, but other than helping like my father around the house and that kind of
Okay.
stuff. But just the general knowledge trickled
Okay.
down.
And you went through some training school to learn about the various facets of the house?
Yeah, they didn't require anything at that point, as far as
Okay.
licensing, certifications, or anything. So I wanted to get educated to know exactly what I was supposed to do. So I did go to school. For that, it was a week school at the time, probably about 16-hour days in classroom training and then in
Okay.
field training. And, so it was very technically exhaustive to learn not necessarily the aspects of a house, but also how to do a home inspection.
Okay.
And that's the big difference. A lot of people know houses. A lot of people know construction. A lot of people know the different trades as far as plumbing, electrical. But the big thing to know is how to do a home inspection, because it's very different than just the technical knowledge of a specific trade.
Okay. Terrific. And what type of inspections that you do? I know you do a home inspection. Do you do other inspections also?
Yeah, I do. I do a lot of different inspections. Been doing this a long time, so I have a lot of different certifications and licensing, so I wear different hats. I do the general home inspection, which is an overall analysis of all the home's major systems. But I also do radon testing, termite inspections, or actually wood-destroying insect inspections,
Okay.
water testing, septic certifications, mold testing, underground oil tanks, swimming pools, lead paint, a lot
Okay.
of different things.
And are there licensing requirements now? I know, when I first got into business, home inspections were just coming out too, and there wasn't a lot of regulations or even experience. Somebody could be an electrician and say they're a home inspector, and in reality they're not.
That's true.
Are there any licensing requirements now for a home inspector?
There are. Both Pennsylvania and New Jersey require different things for you to be able to do an inspection to meet the state requirements. New Jersey requires a state license from the licensing board.
Okay.
Pennsylvania requires a certification, if you would. It's basically meeting certain requirements to be able to conduct home inspections in their state. And then also Philadelphia has a separate license on top of the Pennsylvania license.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you're doing a home inspection, are you doing like a visual inspection, or you opening up anything, or what's a home inspector required to do as far as that's concerned?
That's a good question, because there's a lot of misunderstandings as to what we do. A lot of
Right.
people don't know. They think we do everything. And we pretty much cover every aspect of the home, but our inspections are limited. Obviously, we can't see behind walls and ceilings and furniture and
No
store
X-ray vision
articles.
there?
Not yet. Not yet. I'm hoping to get that
Technology
soon.
should be coming there
Right?
soon, right?
But hopefully.
Yeah,
That would make my job a lot easier.
I'm sure.
So our job is basically, I like to refer to us as your family doctor. So
Okay.
you go to your family doctor and he gives you your physical. And if he finds something wrong, God forbid, he might send you to a heart specialist or a kidney specialist or what have you. And that's kind of our job. Our job is to do an overall analysis of the house and say, you know what, you need a plumber to come out and fix this. You need an electrician to come out and fix this or further evaluate this.
Okay.
So our job is kind of to throw up red flags. Now, most home inspectors will exceed that requirement as far as because of their expertise and knowledge over the years that they gain and give you a lot more information than they might be required to do. And that just comes with experience and that just comes with training and so forth. But yeah, there's limitations to what we don't dismantle equipment. We will take the cover off a heating unit, take the cover off an electrical panel. But that's pretty much as far as a home inspector would go as far as analyzing a home. We don't stick gauges on your air conditioning and cameras in your heat exchanger. That's just not part of a typical home inspection.
Okay. And we have a question from Jeff at Langhorne. He wants to know, what should a buyer be looking for when a buyer hires a home inspector?
Good question. That's a real good question. It's probably the least amount of someone would ask when they call to find out who they're going to hire as their home inspector. Most people are worried about price, although I know that is an important question to ask. But there is a lot. I mean, I think one of the most important things you can ask is how long you've been doing something. I think experience for a long time doing something in any field is important. Certifications, licensing, are you insured? I mean, the states now require that you be insured, but are you insured? Do you meet all those requirements? Having being listed as a certified inspector through like an association such as ASHI, which is an acronym for the American Society of Home Inspectors.
Okay.
There's other organizations out there that are the most rigorous as far as requirements and training and, actually conducting home inspections to meet their standards or exceeding their standards as well. But they're the questions you should ask. What are you going to do for me? What does your report look like? Can I follow you around? Some home inspectors won't let you do that. They make you sit in the kitchen until they're done. But you want to be able to follow the inspector around, ask questions. He'll explain things to you as you walk through. This is your shutoff valves. This is where the main shutoff of the electrical is, and so forth. How you maintain the systems, what things are important to pay attention to in the future. So they're the things you want to know. This is not something you do very often, buying a home or having a home inspected. So price is a concern, but it shouldn't be your top concern. Expertise and longevity in the business and what you're going to get for what you're paying for, in my opinion, is probably the most things you can ask.
Okay, terrific. And you mentioned a little bit about the limitations for the inspection, that it's more like you're doing more of a visual inspection than other things, and that's a concern I know of a lot of buyers too, like how in depth will you do. Now what about like roofs and crawl spaces? Do you normally would you and most home inspectors go on the roof if they can, the angle's right, or why don't we start with roofs first?
Yeah, I mean, you try to do as much as you can. I mean,
Okay.
even though a certain ASHI requirement or state requirement may not require you to do something, any good home inspector worth his salt is going to go up and above those standards. So you're not just looking for a home inspector who's going to meet the standards set by the state or by ASHI or whatever governing body the state requires, but someone's going to exceed those. So you don't have to walk every roof. We try to. Sometimes it's not warranted. Sometimes it's not safe. Sometimes the roof is in disrepair and you can do more damage than good. Sometimes it depends on how accessible you get into the attic. They don't require you to carry a ladder more than 12 feet. If you look outside the window, you'll see my truck with a big extension ladder on it. So we like to do a thorough job as much as possible.
Okay, and crawl spaces, down
Crawl
dirty.
spaces.
That's why you're dressed like this, I'm sure.
Crawl spaces. Thankfully, the area that I service most, we don't run into them a lot. But they're your least favorite. I'm sure every home inspector will tell you that. You try to get in them as much as you can. I mean, the requirements only require you to go into if there's so much clearance and so forth and so on. Safety is a factor as well. I mean, we wear coveralls. We only have to go into them sometimes. But sometimes they're wet. Sometimes there's animals. Sometimes there's snakes. So I can tell you a story about that. You just try to do as much as you can. I mean, you don't just poke your head in and say, that's all I have to do.
Yeah.
You can, but, I don't sleep well at night knowing I didn't do the best possible job I could for my clients.
Terrific. And you got to do armor crawl sometimes, or?
Sometimes.
On the
sometimes it gets a little bit harder over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, you get in there as best you can.
Yeah.
And you sometimes you have to crawl on your hands and knees. Sometimes you have to crawl on your stomach, but that's what you do.
Terrific. So, when you're doing an agreement of sale, generally there's in the Pennsylvania agreements of sale, standard agreements of sale, there's a home inspection clause. In that clause, you're going to specify, in that agreement document, you're going to specify which inspections you're looking for, and you're also going to be providing a date as to when the inspections, the report, and a reply back to the seller is. And generally, that's going to be in a 10 or 15-day period. So, let's say agreement of sale is signed. The buyer's now ready to get a home inspection. The real estate agent may refer them to somebody, who does inspections, or may give them a list of a couple of people, or their friends who had home inspections done. They give them a list of also. So they're going to call the home inspector. What kind of time frame does it take from the time they call the inspector generally to the time the inspection is actually, done? You get out to the house.
Because there is a tight time frame,
Sure.
we don't normally schedule more than a few days in advance.
Okay.
Because people, like you had just mentioned, they sign their
Right.
agreement of sale, then they have 10 days or what have you to have their inspections done. So that's usually when they should call, as soon as they, they're out of their attorney review period or what have you, and they're ready to go. But usually we can get out there within a couple of days, and then
Okay.
it takes usually a day or two sometimes
To get
to generate the report. If you're adding other services like radon testing, sometimes conducting those tests can take 2, 3, 4 days
Okay.
to do that. So you want to leave yourself time to do that. But we can usually get out there within the next 24 to 48 hours.
Okay. And do you recommend that the buyers, at least one of the buyers, if there's more than one, is at the inspection also?
I do. You don't have to be there. No one has to be at the house. I mean, I just need to be able to access the property. But I always recommend my clients for them to be present. It's just a better inspection for them because, like I said earlier, they can follow around. They can ask questions. They'll be able to see exactly what we're doing. And then we can. It's just so much better inspection for the client if they're present. Now, everything's in the report that they're going to need to know, but there's nothing better than firsthand.
Sure, definitely. And, I always say that, home inspection is look for material defects. In addition to that, to learn how to take care of the house. And I know, when you do inspections for my clients, you generally, tell them how to take care of the house too. Or another good thing is too, if they have an idea of moving walls and things like that, they can discuss that with you also.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people think that the home inspector is there to find things that are wrong with your house. And although that's true, I don't really like that synopsis of what I do. We're there to tell you the condition of the home. Sometimes the condition of the home is great. Sometimes. A lot of times the condition of the home is great. So we're there to tell you too, not just that your roof is at the end of its life expectancy, but also that your roof might be, it's a year old and you have a lot of life expectancy. Your heater is newer, your air conditioner is newer, your water heater is newer, the windows are newer. So we're there to tell you also the good things about the house, not just the negative. So my goal is with my clients is when they leave the property, they know everything about the house that they can know. So then they can take that information, because the whole process of what we do is about gaining information.
Right.
So they can take that information now and sit down at home and then sit down with the real estate agent and figure out, okay, what are the items that I'm concerned about? And that varies from every person, from every transaction to how much money they have, how much money they plan on putting into that. So it's a general overall analysis of the property and the information, whether it be good or bad.
Yeah, and definitely, and when people, I find when buyers, they see the reports or go through an inspection, sometimes they're very scared on things. And notice some of them I know from experience will ask you whether or not they should buy the house.
Yeah.
And I know, you're in a difficult position when they ask that question. But I'm sure you have, you're required to give a certain response because that's not your role, I assume, right?
Yeah, I don't like to tell people what to do, and I really won't answer that question. They'll ask me, well, so would you buy it? I might not buy it because I don't like the style of home that it is.
Right.
I might not buy it because I don't like the color of the house. There may be 100 reasons why I won't buy it. It doesn't mean it's not a good house.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll always respond to them, and I really don't answer that question because it has nothing to do with whether or not I'll buy it or whether you should buy it. My job is to give you the information. So
Sure.
Now you can leave here after spending 2-3 hours with me. Now you can leave here and go home, and now you can make a decision of whether or not you choose to buy it or not to buy it, but with a lot more information now than you had 3 hours ago.
Right. And then a lot of material that's going to be in the report are general maintenance things also, and they're very different than material defects, right?
Right. I have a report that I use. I designed it myself. It has pictures in it, so you can use for clarifying things and make things a lot easier for if a real estate agent that might not be present for an inspection or a spouse that might not be there for the inspection can see certain things. But what I do is with my report is I have a summary at the back that lists the major concerns. And a major concern could be something that's not a safety issue, but it's going to be very expensive to repair. And also a major concern could also be very inexpensive to correct, but it's a safety issue. Okay. So they're the items that will focus in the summary, although the whole report gives you the general synopsis of also maintenance and so forth and so on.
Okay.
And at the end of the report, I have a separate attachment I have as an appendix, I call it, that lists a lot of generic basic information about any house, life expectancies of certain things, and maintenance tips, things to look for down the road, that type of things for years down the road they can refer back to.
Okay, terrific. I mean, the other question from Jennifer in Quakertown: what systems and structures, does a home inspector inspect?
Pretty much the whole house.
Okay.
I mean, we focus from the heating, the air conditioning, the electrical, plumbing, structure, roof, appliances, doors, windows, light fixtures, attics, basements, crawl spaces, insulation, ventilation. There's over 1,000 items that are included as part of an inspection.
Okay. And the report will cover each one of them individually? Is that how it
Yes.
works?
Yeah. And our reports that I I designed are, it not just tells you windows satisfactory, it tells you what type of windows that you have. It tells you what type of heating system that you have, how is it fueled, how is it fired, how is the distribution. So it's not just it's good or it's bad, but
Sure.
also describes the components that are there. So if your homeowner's insurance asks you one day, what kind of pipes do you have in your house, or what kind of heating system do you have, and you might not remember, you can always refer back to it.
Okay. And let's say a person has a question, a year later, can they call you and ask you questions?
Absolutely, yeah. People can call, and I say this 24 hours a day, and sometimes people take me up on that, to ask any questions, because, if there's something going on that you need an answer to that's really important, you don't want to kind of wait until Monday to get that answer. So, yeah, we're always available for questions.
And what do you see as like typical concerns that buyers raise during the inspections?
Oh, that's a tough one. Every buyer's different, as you
Sure.
well know.
Oh, yeah.
So some people are concerned over every little thing, and some people aren't concerned about big things. So everybody's different on what their concern levels are. I tried, and I'm pretty good at it sometimes, reading people's concerns. And I do like to engage with them at the inspection to kind of get where they are as far as their concern levels, what their plans are with the house. For instance, some people might be, I'm not really concerned about the kitchen because we're going to be redoing it anyway.
Sure, yeah.
Not that changes our inspection, but I can tweak it to fit their needs more exactly.
Right.
To focus on the items that, okay, I want to move the sink from here to here. Can I do that? Or, well, sure. How do I do that? And then we can focus it that way. But everybody's different on what their concern levels are.
And what about from the seller standpoint? Excuse me, the seller standpoint. Are sellers, do you see that sellers are very concerned about what you're going to be about to do?
Sometimes I'm viewed as the enemy.
Okay.
I'm the intruder coming into the house. Sometimes I'm viewed as, hi, nice to meet you. So everybody's different on that. I like it when everybody's friendly and everybody gets along. It doesn't change the inspection at all. It is, the facts of the home are the facts of the home. But sometimes people are nervous, and I get that. You have a stranger coming to your house, and he's going to go through your whole house from top to bottom and in your closets and, look at parts of your house that you haven't seen in 20 years. So I understand that could be a little nerve-ending, and you just try to be courteous. It's their home, and you're a guest in their home.
Right.
So.
Now, what happens when they have, let's say, a garage or in the basement? They have a lot of stuff in there. Are you allowed to move those things in order to complete your inspection? How do you handle that?
If it's something substantial, and it's something I really need to get to, like an electrical panel, but there might be something in front of it, I'll ask the homeowner if they would move it or if I could move it, depending on what it is. Last thing I want to do is break some family heirloom. But it's their stuff, and I shouldn't move their stuff without asking. So I always ask first. If it's a simple box or something that we can easily pick up and move, that's one thing. But we always like to ask first before we do anything like that.
Yeah. Okay. Terrific. And what any other thoughts about that you would like to share with us as far as home inspections, as far as choosing a home inspector or doing inspection in general? Like do you have any tips, advice for us on that?
Yeah, the most important thing I think you could do is be there.
Okay.
I know you're busy, you got a lot of things going on, you probably miss work a lot, looking at houses with real estate agents and, taking time off of work, and then you got to meet your mortgage guy and talk to your insurance guy. You got a lot of things going on, but if you can be there, that's the best thing. I always tell people, bring a paper and pen, take some notes. I mean, our brochures that we give out have thing on the back just specifically for inspection notes.
Right.
Because there's no way, I don't care who you are, you're going to remember everything we talk about, nor should you be expected to. The report contains most of that information, but not every little detail that we talk about is going to be in the report. So that's one of the most important things I think you can do is bring a piece of paper and take some notes as you walk through.
Okay. And during the winter, snow is on the roof. How do you handle that scenario?
We don't. Again, it's a visual inspection. It's not safe to set up a ladder in the snow. It's not safe to walk on a ladder when your feet are wet. This winter, of course, it's been worse than most over the years. But there's pluses and minuses to adverse weather. When it's raining, you can't walk a roof. It's not safe. You can damage the roofing material. So that's a negative. The advantage is roofs don't leak on sunny days. So you have the advantage with the snow, especially this winter with snow and ice freezing and thawing and raining and freezing and snowing. And you have a lot of conditions that a roof might not leak when it rains, but it could leak when you have ice damming issues and snow drifting up underneath flashings and penetrations in the house and so forth. So that's the plus side, but you do have the downside. So I can tell you if your roof is leaking, but I can't tell you necessarily how old the material is or whatnot. So sometimes if we're going back to the house, pick a radon detector or something like that, we can look at it at that point. We have no problem doing that.
And what happens if a buyer wanted you to come out, like a week later, the snow's off the roof? Are you able to do that, maybe for an extra fee? Or?
Yeah, we'll do that, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, most of the work we do is in particular areas, so we're usually there a lot, so we have no trouble swinging back there. If it was like this winter, be honest with everybody, it's difficult. I can't go back and look at 50 roofs, when the snow melts.
Right.
But you do the best you can for your clients.
And one of the things I'm recommending now is that for sellers is to, have a home inspection done in advance. Have you experienced that yet?
We do, and it's something I offer to real estate agents really because I don't know who the people are selling yet, but I think it's a good idea, and I offer two types of inspections for sellers. One is just basically a verbal inspection where we walk through the house, and it's basically the same inspection, but you don't get a report. And the purpose of that is to save them some money, but they still get the information that's going to come up in a general home inspection.
Right.
The advantage of having this pre-listing inspection is you can address things prior to listing your home. And statistics show that your house will sell more quickly and closer to your asking price, and so forth. So it's also beneficial to have a written report sometimes if you want that, because then when you have a buyer, you could say, we had our home inspected prior to listing our house. Here's the report. Oh, and by the way, these 5 things, we fixed these 5 things already, and they've already been taken care of. Here's the receipt from my roofer. Here's the receipt from my plumber. Here's the receipt from my electrician, and they're all taken care of. That really shows something to a prospective buyer, I think, of, that you've taken care of the house.
Yeah, definitely. And, so I think more sellers are used to home staging now, but I'm also recommending, a pre-sale inspection too. So again, same thing. They can take care of everything in advance and let everybody know, let the buyers know, excuse me, somehow this thing went off on me. To let the buyers know that, the house has been taken care of and any major defects have been repaired.
Oh, that's right. And they may still choose to have their own inspection, which I would recommend still having their own inspection.
As a realtor, right, because of liability, I have to recommend that they have their own, but at least a buyer can see that, major things were taken care of, or even minor things that could be safety concerns.
Right.
Were taken care of also.
But to go back to my point I said earlier is you missed out on following that inspector around the house. Now, I'm a biased person here, obviously, because this is what I do, but I think the inspection fee alone, if we go through a house and find nothing wrong, which is, of course, rare, there's always something, there's stuff wrong in my house too, that when you go through, the information you gain from the inspection process and walking around with the inspector, because if you think about it, when you're showing someone a house, 15, 20 minutes, they're in the house, and maybe they go back again another 10 or 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So you're here for 3 hours. You're going to see a lot of things you didn't see the first time.
Yeah,
but the information you'll gain by being on that inspection, again, I'm biased, is worth the inspection fee of the knowledge that you gain.
I agree also. And so, Steve, I'd like to have you back talking about the various systems that you inspect,
Okay.
the, types of things that you look for,
Love to.
and get more into, each structure in the house and each system in the house, talking about things that you would normally check for or the buyer should be concerned about. And I think that would be great for the audience there. And Steve, if someone wants to get a hold of you to do a home inspection or have any questions for you, how can they reach you? How can they contact you?
Well, you can call me at my phone number is 215 in Pennsylvania, 215-750-7160. In New Jersey at 609-723-3200. You can go to our website, BeloyanInspectionServices.com, and you can reach me via email at BeloyanInspections@gmail.com.
Okay, terrific. Well, Steve, thank you very much for such an informative show here today. Once again, my name is Paul Rosso. I'm with Remax Properties in Bucks County. If you have any questions for me, you can reach me at 215-778-9687. You can follow our show at buckscountyhomesandliving.com. You can follow us on Facebook at Good Life Bucks County. You can follow us on Twitter at Bucks County Live. So we're going to be off next week celebrating 4th of July. I'll be upstate New York next along the St. Lawrence there, not too far from the, I think they call them Thousand Islands. Our wife used to some up there. Her parents' families are up there, and so we're looking forward to that. And just have a great 2 weeks, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. And hopefully we'll see you around Bucks County. Have a good day now.